Good to see you. Thanks so much. The polls begin closing right now. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt tonight. The polls have just closed in the state of Virginia, 7 p.m. Eastern time, one of the biggest elections of this year. Glenn Youngkin's Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears trying to pull off a tough victory against a very rigid former CIA spy, Abigail Spanberger. And the more bizarre race in that state, which could have an impact on that governor's race, is this one, where Jay Jones on the right here, whose text messages revealed he's apparently a psychopath, wants to be the next attorney general, taking on the Republican Jason Miyares on the left, who currently has the job. Jones caught wishing death on a prominent state Republican and his children in leaked texts, and yet somehow the race is still close. He wants to be the top cop in Virginia after wishing death on an innocent man and his kids. Early results now have begun to pour in. We're going to go through those. Here in New York, though, it's all about the mayor's race as we brace for the communist in the middle. Can Cuomo perform well enough to cover the fractured vote, courtesy of Curtis Sliwa, who has refused to drop out? Cuomo now has the Trump endorsement, something, though, that he marginalized, talking about it earlier today.
The president does not support me. The president opposes Zoran Mamdani. The president believes Zoran Mamdani is a communist. He believes he's an existential threat. I believe he's a socialist and an existential threat.
That from the governor right there. Recent polls showed the former governor winning handily if Sliwa would have gotten out of the race, but Sliwa, of course, never did drop out. Zoran has a slight lead in that latest polling from Atlas Intel tonight. The commie Mamdani being extra careful in these closing days. Like an actor going for the Oscar, Mamdani now playing a moderate Democrat, backtracking hard on his many cries to defund police and a lot of the vile rhetoric we've seen him spew, like in these earlier videos over recent years. Take a listen to this.
Defunding the police, you obviously don't believe that anymore, right?
Yes, I've said that very clearly.
You've said that time and again, right?
The tweets that I wrote in 2020 around defunding the police, that's not the position that I hold. And I'm running for mayor to deliver public safety in partnership with the police department.
Right.
And there's also language that I've used in those same tweets, which I've apologized for to police officers directly.
Yeah, he's not screaming like a psychotic, radical Marxist jihadist the way he did in the videos from the past. Interesting, right? And maybe the best chance at being the Republican bright spot on a night that's going to be a lot about blue states, blue state elections in New Jersey, which is turning purple as we speak. The polls close in 57 minutes. Jack Ciattarelli is running for governor for the third time against Democrat Mikey Sherrill, who can fly a helicopter. Polling shows this race insanely close, the Democrat leading by just 3 points, but Ciattarelli has a bad habit of overperforming. In 2021, he barely lost to the incumbent governor, Phil Murphy, a much harder race he had in 2021, and he only lost by 2.8 points after the average of polls had him losing by closer to 8 points. He overperformed dramatically. If he does that again tonight, he will be the governor of New Jersey, and that would be a hell of a great story, his third try at that seat. We have seen bomb threats and machine issues reported on this election day in New Jersey. Republicans vote on Election Day. Wonder who is responsible for those bomb threats. The final big race to watch in California is the Prop 50 race. Gavin Newsom's plan to gerrymander his state to the absolute max to save democracy in response to Texas gerrymandering earlier this year. So that's the landscape. Wanted to lay all that out for you tonight. We're going to talk about all of these issues. We're going to start with our Capitol Hill correspondent, Alana Austin, who's at Winsome Sears headquarters, Upper Belmont Place, Leesburg, Virginia. Alana, good to see you. Jay Jones text messages maybe could be the thing that potentially saves Winsome Sears here in a race that's she's a little behind in, right?
That's exactly right, Rob. Good evening. Good to be with you. I heard from sources inside the VA GOP world that, yes, Winsome Earl-Sears has been behind Abigail Spanberger, clearly the odds-on favorite. But in the Attorney General's race, I have been hearing that is a closer race than that one, and that the J. Jones texting scandal, the concept of political violence, that Virginia's top law enforcement official could be somebody who promoted behind the scenes murdering innocent children, that's a character issue, and that has been a major battle for him. As far as right now, we heard from voters at the polls in deep blue Northern Virginia. They're unhappy with the federal government shutdown. There were a number of female voters who said they connected more with the Spanberger campaign. Either way, history will be made tonight with Virginia's first woman governor to be elected. Rob?
Follow that one, Alana. Thanks so much. Former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell is at the Jason Miyares headquarters, and we're going to talk to him. And, sir, it's good to have you on the show. It is surreal that the Attorney General race is even close after what we saw in those text messages. Is it not?
Oh, it really is. I mean, it's just stunning of all the things that I've heard in 35 years of being in government, to be able to make a threat that you'd rather put two bullets in the sitting Speaker of the House, a Republican, than Adolf Hitler or Pol Pot, who killed 15 million people, is almost unspeakable. And then wish evil on his wife and children. I mean, it's truly stunning, and especially in this age where we have real and threats of violence against political leaders, whether it's Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump, Democrat leaders up in Minnesota. It's dangerous, toxic rhetoric that just is really disqualifying for an elected official. And I would hope that that would be reflected in the vote we see for Jason Miyares tonight, Rob.
Spanberger, likely to be the next governor if tonight goes the way it's looking, is said she will refuse to work. She wants to run the state of Virginia, which borders Washington, D.C., and she wants to refuse to work with President Trump. Take a listen to this.
You position yourself as a consensus builder, someone who works across the aisle. Would you work with President Trump on areas like job creation?
I think that, you don't work with the arsonist who burns down the house to rebuild it. And in this particular case, the individual who's responsible for an absolute attack on the federal workforce is not the right person to help rebuild our economy.
Is the president of the United, isn't it so tired that this is it's the same thing for 9 years now. You can't even talk to Donald Trump.
Well, it's the reflexively toxic rhetoric that's hurting our country. The reason that the government is shut down because no one on the Democratic side wants to be realistic and try to get people their benefits and open the government up. I mean, it's a Schumer shutdown, but of course, Rob, what's happened in Virginia is for 50 years in a row, except for 2013, the party in power in the White House loses the governor's race. It's the proximity of Virginia to Washington, independent voters voting against the incumbent president and changes they've made of both parties. And the Democrats, look, they've played it up with the shutdown, with health care benefits, with the SNAP benefits going away. Everything gets blamed on the administration. And with the press, of course, it sticks more in Virginia than in other places. So that's the headwinds Winsome Sears has faced. I think she's run a good campaign, stating clearly what the differences are. And the question is twofold, really. How much will that horrible J. Jones hateful rhetoric go up the ballot to help Winsome Sears? And secondly, as a black former Marine immigrant, how much will she tap into soft Democrats and independent votes to get some of the black vote to vote for her? And that I think will determine the outcome. So far, the turnout in the early voting in Democrat areas is a little better than Republicans, but we could make it up today if she gets that edge in those voting blocks.
Yeah, it's been some good years for the Republican Party in Virginia. It might be swinging back the other way. Republicans trying to stop that. The former governor, Bob McDonnell, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Good to see you. Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin joins us now. Let's talk about New York for a second here as we watch all these big elections tonight. Cuomo surging the last couple of weeks. Do you think that Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, should have dropped out of this race?
You know, what ends up happening is the Republican Party sometimes can be our own worst enemy. Curtis, while he has his heart is right, he's in the right place. If this was really about New York, I would feel like Rob, he probably should have tried to unite with the leader, with Cuomo, and had the opportunity to try to beat this socialist communist, because it looks like that they're on the way to crowning New York City, crowning a communist to be the mayor. I mean, and his statements are for real. People better understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to privatize, I guess you could say, or have the government run over and take over supermarkets, wanting to, I mean, he's made statements that no one should own private property, that he wants to go after the billionaires and tax them basically out of the state. He's going to kill the financial market. No one has crowned New York as a place you have to have the financial market, and unfortunately they're going to be moving away, and it looks like they're headed to Dallas.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought the same thing. Like, why didn't Cuomo say you're going to be my crime czar? You know, I don't think Sliwa ever thinks he's actually going to win.
Right.
I think he does this every 4 years as a bit of a stunt, and he doesn't put together the kind of the kind of campaign that will win. So just let him be the crime czar. You know, make a deal with him. You know, and say we're going to announce it the day after we win the election. I mean, this could have been prevented, is what the polling indicates now. It is priceless to see people running toward like what this election really has become about is about cost of living in New York. Everybody's buying into, once again, the dreams of socialism and all this free crap. But people running towards government to cure an inflation crisis or the cost of living. The government is the reason that people can't afford to live. The most inflationary thing in this country is the government. That's what's created all these problems. The size and scale of the government is why everything is so expensive. How funny is that?
Well, Rob, anytime you put on a mandate or a regulation, that's going to be passed down. Yeah. Anytime the state is going to charge somebody, going to tax somebody, that cost is going to be pushed to somebody else. It has to be. A company can't absorb it. Corporations can't absorb it. And so every time you think that a government is going to have cost control and put a freeze on rent, well then, okay, no one's going to build anymore. The market's going to dry up because no one's going to be investing in the market again. The reason why is because no one can. You're not going to have remodeling. People aren't going to go in there and fix up their buildings, so everybody's going to become a slumlord because they can't afford it. And people know this. People that are in the private sector, they know this. Entrepreneurs know this. When you elect people that have never done anything in their life but be anti-police and a community organizer, you have people that think government is a solution when honestly government becomes the problem. And the more times, every time the government takes over something, they make a mess out of it. Every time the private sector takes over, they seem to start streamlining it. We can go back to the railroad system if we want to. We can go all the way back to our healthcare system. We can start talking about social programs. The list goes on. When you try to get government to take over a project, they can never do it better than a private sector.
Certainly true there, and it's sad that human beings we're not that bright, and we forget. We have very short memories, and we forget, and we have to be reminded of these things so often. And this election and what we see happen over the next 4 years in New York will be a reminder. The one good thing for the National Republican Party is that Mamdani is going to be a billboard for your party going forward.
But, Rob, do you think he stays at New York mayor for 4 years? I think with the Democrat Party, they just crowned their new leader. And you're going to have Mamdani, you're going to have AOC, and you're going to have Bernie Sanders out there running for president in 2028. Yeah. And I mean that sincerely. Have you seen the way the guy speaks? He's even more deceptive than Obama himself. Oh, and the way he dodges questions, the way he denies what he said, or tries to spin what he said in the past. The guy's actually pretty impressive the way he can stand up there and lie right to your face. But I guess, I'm not going to go down that route. No. I only went down a route, and I'm going to stop. Either way, we better watch this guy.
Yeah, I suffer to see him doing well in places like Pennsylvania. I can't really see that performing very well, but you know, you're right that the Democrat Party certainly is having a moment, and it's a panic moment. I want to get to the shutdown before I let you go here. It's 35 days now, so it's the longest in history. The Department of Transportation saying they might have to close airspace in certain parts of the country next week because air traffic control issues. You predicted Democrats are going to end this thing as soon as this election's over because they can't come out and fully capitulate right before an election. They're going to look like fools. Do you think it ends tomorrow or Thursday?
Well, I got to say this one more part, Rob, and I'll get to your question real quick.
Yeah.
No one took Barack Hussein Obama serious, too. Because they didn't think he could ever perform across the nation, and yet he did. So switching to where I think they're going to open up real quick, I believe that we'll open up, well, I say we open up. I think the Senate will pass our funding bill, a CR, probably come the end of Thursday, maybe going to Friday. We're going to have to make some changes to it because it can't be the same CR. One, the date. We can't go till November 21st, so we're going to push it to December 19th, or some people are trying to push it into January. Second of all, we have 3 appropriation bills done, and they've been somewhat conferenced with the House. If we could do those 3 appropriation bills and put it on there instead of us having to do a CR on 12 appropriation bills, we could actually fund like our military and get them out of the CR, which would be very helpful because that's one of the funding bills, and be able to do a CR on the other 9 appropriation bills. So either way, the House will have to come back, and the House may have a 72-hour soak unless they get a unanimous consent to move on because we are changing the CR they sent to us. But I have a feeling that we'll probably be open with the House vote also by the beginning of next week or sooner.
So they're going to have to capitulate and get nothing for closing down the government for a month. That's going to be wild to see.
Well, we were never going to give them anything.
Yeah, I know. That's the beauty of it, and what a foolish move. And it's just going to make Schumer and Hakeem look even worse than they already do. Senator, good to see you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Rob, thanks for having me on.
Update on Virginia. The poll's been closed now for 16 minutes, plus Senator Rick Scott, all coming up next.
Hi, I'm Sydney Sweeney.
And I'm Christy Martin.
Our new movie is the true story of the first woman inducted into Boxing Hall of Fame.
Christy Martin!
That's her.
Inside the ring, I was trying to win. But outside the ring,
there's no Christy Martin without me.
I was just trying to survive.
I'm not running away. Christy, it was raw talent that made you a world champion, but it was a deeper strength that makes you a legend.
Christy, rated R, starts Friday only in theaters. Get tickets now.
Think you need a new roof? Think again and save thousands.
We're America's most trusted roofer because we always try to save your roof rather than replace it.
We'll restore your roof for a fraction of the cost of a new one. Call now or scan the code and we'll give you an assessment of your roof for free.
Hello, I'm Franklin Graham. We've all been watching the storm Melissa as it hit Jamaica. The destruction is just incredible. Samaritan's Purse is responding. We've got planes taking supplies and people in and out of Jamaica. We've got helicopters. They'll be working up in the mountains in some of these remote areas where people are still cut off. So much destruction has taken place. So please pray for them. We want everyone there to know that God loves them and cares for them. So we need your prayers. God bless you. Thank you.
I am Mr. H, owner of Immuno 150, possibly the most complete and best nutritional supplement in the world, bar none. Now, it has propelled me to 91 years of age and my wife Shirley to 83. Both of us are still cutting a wide swath in life, doing everything we did many years ago. All because of Immuno 150. And it can do the very same thing for you. Try it for 90 days so you can experience the difference it can make in your life. Nothing on the market can compete with the way we blend 70 plant-derived colloidal minerals with 80 very carefully selected nutrients. You'll be surprised if you take the recommended dose of Immuno 150 for 3 months. Place your order now so that you can be with us many years from now. Thank you and God bless.
Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country.
Before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead in a new book, Pagan Threat, authored by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read it. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer. Plus, get Dick Morse's new book, The Real Charlie Kirk. 2 great books with our free offer today.
All right, welcome back. Polls close at the end of this hour, 8 p.m. in the New Jersey governor's race. It has the best chance of being perhaps the Republican bright spot in this off-year election, mostly focused on blue states. The polls closing at 8 o'clock there. You got Mikey Sherrill, you got Jack Ciattarelli. Jack's third time around. He's looking for something to make something happen here, and he's got a really good chance at it. If you look at the polls, they're a lot tighter than they were, and he only lost by 2.8 points back in 2021. Here in New York, you've got the 34-year-old communist Zoran Mamdani on the cusp of running the largest financial hub in the world. That's a scary one. And in California, you have Gavin Newsom's Prop 50 redistricting measure on the ballot as Newsom plans to further gerrymander his state, or intends to, after Republicans redistricted Texas. Polls closing at 11 p.m. Eastern time there. And Senator Rick Scott joins us now to talk more about some of these races. And Senator, good to have you on. Prop 50 in California, the president wrote earlier about this, put it on Truth Social. It's unconstitutional redistricting vote in California, a giant scam, he called it. The entire process, in particular the voting itself, is rigged, mail-in ballots, he says, under very serious legal and criminal review. What do you think happens with Prop 50 here?
Well, you hope it doesn't pass. I mean, you know what's frustrating is the governors like Newsom. They don't want to make sure all voters are counted for, just their voters, just the people that are going to vote for them, and they're the only ones that matter. Whether it's the way he governs or the make sure the way he wants to do this gerrymandering. So, but think about it. You know, people are fed up with him in California. They're I'm doing an investigation right now on the Pacific Palisades fire and trying to understand what happened there. So, Democratic governance has not been working anywhere around the country.
Yeah. Want to rapid fire a couple more to you. In Jersey, Jack Ciattarelli, I think he's got finally, this could be the moment for Jack, his third time, and the polling, is as tight as it's ever been, and he barely lost in 2021.
Wouldn't it be great for New Jersey to get a Republican governor, to have somebody that's going to focus on getting more jobs, better education, work with the law enforcement, make it a safe state? Unfortunately for Florida, fewer people from New Jersey might move down. Some might even move back. But it would be good for the people of New Jersey. So I wish him the best.
Yeah. Mamdani going to send a lot of people your way. It looks like if he wins tonight, do you think it was a mistake for Sliwa to not drop out of this race?
Well, I would never suggest anybody get out of a race. That's what, when I was the not the establishment candidate in 22 in the primary, that's what Republicans told me to do. So I would never suggest that. But it's too bad for New York. Here used to be the center of capitalism. Now they're going to elect somebody it's a socialist. He's anti-police, he's for anti-Semitism. If you're a Jewish student, you're not going to be safe. If you're a billionaire, you probably can afford to live there. But if you're anybody else, you're going to have to get out because it's going to be too expensive. I mean, the guy wants to open up government-run grocery stores. What government-run anything works well?
Yeah, that's a great point, and depleting the tax base as well. You said billionaires can afford to live here, but a lot of them will leave and likely head your direction, or Tennessee or Texas. I want to talk the shutdown for a second. The Secretary of Transportation said today that if we don't get the government opened up, the DOT might be forced to shut down airspace in certain parts of the country due to these air traffic control shortages. I suspect that with this election over tonight, that this could end quickly now. I think they were just waiting to get over this hump. Do you think it ends in the next couple of days?
I don't see any pressure. The Democrats, think about it, they don't care about people on food stamps. I mean, I grew up poor. I watched my mom struggle to put food on the table. The Democrats have kept this shutdown going, and they hurt the poorest families. And guess what? Democratic senators, they won't vote for my bill to say, oh, we shouldn't get paid if we don't do our job and keep government open. So they're going to get paid, and then they want to give health benefits to rich people. It makes no sense what the Democrats are doing, but I have no idea if they're finally going to come to their senses and open up government.
Yeah, I just wonder if maybe they couldn't capitulate before the election because they look like idiots for shutting down the government for 30-something days and not getting anything for it. But I think maybe after they might just have to bail because Trump's not going to let them win on this. I don't see that happening. I want to ask about the filibuster. The president is again demanding that the Senate nuke the filibuster, throws out that 60-vote threshold that's really important for kind of bipartisanship in the Senate. He says Democrats are just going to do it when they get back into power anyways. We might as well do it first. Where is that tonight in the Senate, sir?
Well, we don't really need to change the process here. What we need to do is get 5 more Democrats to vote to open up government. Look, I understand where the president is. It has to be frustrating to watch. They block his nominees. They do everything to stop any of his bills. They do everything they can to. They just hate the guy. But the right thing to do is stand where we are, get Democrats to vote for opening up government, and then let's start having a real conversation about how do we drive down the cost of health care, which is a big problem for many people in our states. How do we drive down the cost of groceries, the cost of housing, all these things? That's what we ought to be doing.
Yeah, you had what I thought was maybe the most interesting soundbite of last week. Maybe 10 days ago, you said on 60 Minutes that Maduro in Venezuela needs to get out, needs to flee the country, get out. His days are numbered. 10 days later, do you still think that is accurate? Do you still think his days are numbered, and why?
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank God for President Trump. But the reason this is happening because Trump's the president. He's not going to continue to let drugs come into this country. Maduro's not the president of Venezuela. He's the head of drug cartels. He lost the election, so he stole the election. He's not the legitimate president. Armando Gonzalez is the legitimate president. And Trump, you can see what Trump's doing. He's going to get all these people trying to sell drugs to our kids. And guess what? The leader of it is Nicolas Maduro. If he's smart, he gets the hell out. He goes to Russia, goes to China. He's going to do it. He's going to save his behind.
Do you think the United States will have any hand in that process?
Well, if he doesn't get out, the same thing is going to happen to what happened in Noriega. He's going to be captured. He's under indictment right now in New York. So our military has every right to arrest him and put him in prison and try him in the United States, and he'll be convicted.
Interesting. I want to ask finally just about James Comey. We're seeing this what's been revealed here by the DOJ. One of the bullet points in his handwritten notes said HRC, Hillary Rodham Clinton, I would assume is what that stands for, Plan to Tie Trump. Plan to Tie Trump, which this is in September 2016 before the election. It looks like James Comey very much more so looks like a dirty cop with what's been revealed here. It
Well, it sure does. And if you look at the Obama administration, the Biden administration, I mean, they've weaponized government. It happened to me when I fought against Hillary Clinton back in 1994 or whatever. They went after me. During the Biden administration, the Biden administration leaked my tax returns, and now I'm part of the group of senators that they went after for our personal information. So the Democrats, they've weaponized government. So, but it sure looks like Comey completely lied to Congress.
Yeah, it certainly does. All right, I got 10 seconds left. Just wanted to ask you your thoughts. Dick Cheney passing overnight. Anything you'd like to say?
He cared about the country. He worked hard. He was he really cared about this country.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Senator Rick Scott, we appreciate you coming on. A lot of questions tonight. Good to see you, sir. Thanks.
All right, have a good night. Bye-bye.
And we'll be right back.
I'm Caden Ballas. I'm a race car driver from Concord, North Carolina, and I like to go fast. Consistency is everything. Every morning when I wake up, I take Balance of Nature fruits and veggies.
Get 35% off your first set as a preferred customer. Claim this offer by using discount code Newsmax.
Hi, I'm Bob Webster. You know, in cold weather, I'll bet you every farmer, rancher, and homeowner in the country worries about their pipes freezing and breaking. Well, the Freeze Miser ends that worry. No batteries, no wires, just some amazing technology that lets it sense when the temperature of the water in the pipes drops to 37 degrees. Then it starts releasing exactly the right amount of water. Check it out at freezemiser.com or at your favorite nursery, garden center, hardware, or farm and ranch store. It's the Freeze Miser, and it works.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. With trillions of dollars vanishing from the stock portfolios of retiring Americans, many hardworking people I speak with are concerned about the holdings in their IRAs. But I have good news for you. Our team at Swiss America can show you how easy it is to own gold in your IRA. You see, even with economic turmoil all around us, gold continues to not only be a safe haven, but is also increasing to all-time highs. The volatility of markets has created a lot of undue stress for people. Wouldn't you like that peace of mind that diversifying into metals can provide? For over 40 years, Swiss America has helped people just like you own precious metals in your IRAs. So don't miss this opportunity. Call or text our team at the number on your screen to receive a free copy of our Gold IRA brochure today.
I've been a leader at App School All-Stars for 21 years. By working with kids every day, I've seen the complexity of youth mental health firsthand. Economic anxiety, kids falling behind in school, overuse of devices. There are many contributing factors that all deserve our attention. To ensure students reach their full potential, we should listen to them and empower their parents with every resource they need. Youth mental health is a difficult challenge and needs a comprehensive solution.
A peace plan for Gaza. For the plan to advance, Hamas must disarm. Instead,
tonight, terrifying images emerging from Gaza. Videos show Hamas-linked gunmen carrying out a public execution as they return to the streets.
Hamas on a rampage, executing Palestinians, bloody crackdown, spreading terror. For freedom, not terror, Hamas must go.
Total Beats Ultimate Heart Health is the newest innovation from America's best-selling Beats brand. Ultimate Heart Health contains a key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support, plus CoQ10 for even better heart health. Find Total Beats Ultimate Heart Health at Walmart today.
All right, welcome back. Some breaking news here. We have our first projection. Newsmax projecting Abigail Spanberger will win the Virginia governor's race. That projection coming in at about 23 minutes after the polls closed. We were able to make it, and you see it right there on the screen. Winsome Sears, the projection quickly knocked out here for Spanberger, quickly ahead by about 8,000 or 7,000 votes here, just at 2% of the votes in at this point. So that one came quick. Still no projection, though, on the other race in that state, which was the really interesting one with Jay Jones and the text messages and Jason Miyares, who's the current attorney general. That one looks a lot tighter, so we're going to have to follow that one, and we're going to wait and see here if Winsome Sears is going to concede at some point during this show. Likely to happen, but that a quick projection here from Newsmax that Spanberger, Abigail Spanberger, a former CIA spy, winning that seat, the Democrat in Virginia, going to be the governor.
So I've said clearly that I believe we should tax the top 1%, an additional 2%, and start to Trump-proof our city. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Stephen Miller, these are the architects in many ways of the crisis of authoritarianism.
It is an illustration of the attacks we're seeing on our democracy. Sometimes they're blatant and explicit in the manner of these bomb threats, and we have to understand this as part of the general approach the Trump administration has taken to trying to intimidate voters with baseless allegations of voter fraud. When we think about how best to fight Donald Trump, one way we can do so is by understanding Andrew Cuomo for what he is, the candidate endorsed by Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Stephen Miller.
All right, so the 34-year-old communist Zoran trying his best to appear moderate and stable. We saw him on Morning Joe today playing real easy on the cusp of pulling a huge scam, a radical zealot on the verge of running New York. Anti-capitalist running New York. Today, Zoran blaming Trump for bomb threats at polling locations to intimidate voters. Ridiculous. Election day bomb threats always affect Republicans who vote on Election day disproportionately more. We all know that. Mamdani claiming he's going to Trump-proof New York and slamming the endorsement of Cuomo by the president. Trump writing, I'd much rather see a Democrat who has a record of success win than a communist with no experience and a record of complete and total failure. Cuomo distancing himself from Trump's endorsement earlier today. Take a listen.
The president does not support me. The president opposes Zoran Mamdani.
All right, so we want to talk about exactly what's happening here in New York. We don't have results yet. The polls are not closed yet, but Scott Lebedo is a well-known conservative artist here in New York, and he's also a Curtis Sliwa surrogate, the Republican in this race. Dov Hikind is a former state assemblyman who jumped from Sliwa's support to Cuomo like a lot of people did, to try and stop Mamdani, because a lot of people thought that was the only way to stop the communists from getting in. Good to have you both on. Scott, I know you're very passionate about this race. Give us your perspective here on why you stuck with Sliwa, and it's a three-way race.
I'd first like to address a few elephants in the room. First of all,
Sure.
Mr. Dove, I just want to know what it's like to use a machete-sized knife to stab Curtis Sliwa in the back. That disgusts me, watching all of you people. And what I'm hearing from you is that you're doing this to save New York City. Let me tell you something. You people don't think. Cuomo wins. Cuomo wins. Where do you think Mamdani's going to go? You think he's going to go back to Uganda and build the little huts and villages for the people over there? He's going to stay right here underground and build his jihadi, socialist, communist empire, Jew-hating communist empire right here for the next 4 years. He is going to be 1,000 times stronger. You're kicking the can down the road. You're putting a Band-Aid on a tumor. And that is sickening, because what happened to the balls in this city? It's disgusts me that people like you, and you know what disgusts me more than that, more than people like you, buddy, old-time buddy, is that people are saying right now on social media, it's blowing up, that Curtis Sliwa should walk in shame, that he should be the most hated man in America if Mamdani wins. And I find that disgusting. Cuomo lost the primary.
Okay.
He should not be in this race. It was Curtis Sliwa's to win, and you people should have put that scared child energy behind Curtis Sliwa.
We knew this was going to be heated. Dove, go ahead, sir.
Yeah. First of all, I'm not Mr. Dove, and I don't know what you're talking about, you people. I'm not exactly clear what you mean by that.
It wasn't a thing. It was you people. It was you people that are throwing him under the bus. That's what I mean by you people.
I did not interrupt you once, and you're interrupting me. I don't know why you're doing that.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I know there's a motion and so on and so forth. Don't interrupt me, okay? Be cool, be relaxed. Look, I am loyal to the cause. I'm not loyal to an individual. And to me, it was very clear, and I'm happy. I was the one who criticized Cuomo on a regular basis. Yeah. I made it very, very clear, even after I left Curtis and endorsed Cuomo, I was very, very clear about Cuomo. But we have a monster by the name of Mamdani. He is dangerous to the well-being, not only of New York, well-being of this country, and we don't have to go into all. We don't have to go into all the stuff. We know what that is. So it was about defeating. It was about defeating Mamdani, and Curtis wasn't going anywhere. It was very, very clear. And I don't want to say any more about
you
the
people
campaign.
created the polls to scare everybody over to one serial killer from another serial killer. That's exactly what you did.
Well, Scott, let me just jump in here real quick. I only have 30 seconds left for this, but what happens tonight if we get the polls back and Sliwa pulls 15%? You know, and Cuomo's within 10. Like, does that change anything in your calculus of what's possible?
Nothing. I wake up tomorrow no matter what happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's about the heart of a human being that lives in this city. New York is the epicenter of the world. We are known to have a heart.
But can he win? Can he win in this blue city?
Listen to me. The majority of the people in the city aren't listening to these people that are taking money, all the big radio station hosts and these moguls. The pressure to scare people. It's old school. The working people, there's more of them than anybody else. I'm telling you, I'm in the streets every day with Curtis, every day. And these people love him. And even the people that say, oh, we love him. But what does that but mean? All of that energy should have been with Curtis from the beginning. I don't care about what happens tomorrow morning. It's about being a New Yorker and how we caved because of the pressure to go from one horrible. Cuomo screwed everyone in the city for 10 years. Everybody forgets what he did. And that's what you're doing. You're just cashing in. You're settling. You're settling when we have the one guy to save the city once and for all. It's so obvious. It's sickening.
I got to leave it there just purely based on time. It's a very packed show with the election.
I think preposterous.
10 seconds. Go ahead.
His emotion doesn't matter. Mamdani or Cuomo, that is pathetic. I'm sorry. Don't get so angry. Curtis may be responsible.
I gotta leave it.
For Mamdani.
I gotta leave it.
I'm angry at you and those like you.
Live with it.
Shame on you. I'm going to sleep tonight. You're not, no matter what happens.
Duff,
you're going to live with the guilt, brother.
Shame on you.
And Scott
Cool down. Take a drink.
I knew it was going to be. I knew it was going to be a good one. Scott Lebedo and Dov Hiken. Good to see you guys. Thanks so much. New York guys, through and through. I appreciate the passion, gentlemen. Good to see you. All right. Capitol Hill correspondent Alana Austin back at Winsome Sears headquarters. We've just called the race projecting Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat, to win in the state of Virginia. And Alana, is there any update from the Winsome Sears side? Is there going to be a concession speech?
No official word yet from the Winston Earl Sears campaign. Several supporters behind us said that as of right now, they still consider it to be an early night. But one indicator, Rob, hours ago was that Attorney General Jason Miyares, a Republican, was already encouraging people that it is okay to vote split ticket. And a number of GOP operatives had said they wouldn't be surprised if Winsome lost and yet other Republicans on the ballot, down ballot, prevailed. Back to you, Rob.
Okay, quick night for Winsome Sears in Virginia. Spanberger gets the projection here, right here on Newsmax. Thanks so much, Alana. We appreciate it. I want to get to just some breaking news completely out of left field here, but some scary stuff. This is Louisville, Kentucky, where the FAA has confirmed that a UPS flight crashed right upon takeoff. There's a video of it going down the runway. You can see flames coming from one of the engines. This is Muhammad Ali International Airport in Louisville. It was a UPS jet, so not packed full of people, thank God, but it was on its way to Hawaii from Louisville. It had 280,000 pounds of fuel on the jet right at takeoff, and there are reports that there are people trapped in what looks to be a commercial building right there near the airport in Louisville because of just what has been a massive fire and an explosion, the size of which is just unbelievable. We're working on getting some of that video, but that's an update from Louisville tonight, just a very chaotic inferno there just outside of that airport. All right, a closer look at Prop 50, more election coverage, maybe some more projections coming up next. Stay tuned.
I am Mr. H, owner of Immuno 150, possibly the most complete and best nutritional supplement in the world, bar none. Now, it has propelled me to 91 years of age and my wife, Shirley, to 83. Both of us are still cutting a wide swath in life, doing everything we did many years ago. All because of Immuno 150. And it can do the very same thing for you. Try it for 90 days so you can experience the difference it can make in your life. Nothing on the market can compete with the way we blend 70 plant-derived colloidal minerals with 80 very carefully selected nutrients. You'll be surprised if you take the recommended dose of Immuno 150 for 3 months. Place your order now so that you can be with us many years from now. Thank you and God bless.
As a junior in high school, life can feel overwhelming sometimes.
Balancing homework, friendships, and stuff at home isn't easy. More than ever, kids my age are facing anxiety and depression.
That's why programs like After School All-Stars matter.
They provide access to mental health support, connect us with mentors, and give us tools to succeed. Mental health is complicated.
I'm grateful people are working to support students like me.
Help our parents help us, and find solutions to this challenge.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans. Compare drug coverage. Compare costs. See if you can save. And make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Compare plans now at Medicare.gov.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
People always ask, why Patriot Gold Group? With over 10,000 clients to date and over $1 billion in transactions, not a single complaint on the Better Business Bureau. Consumer Affairs top rated for 9 years in a row. Over 2,000 5-star reviews. The only company nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the no fee for life IRA. Gold is up 80% in the last 28 months, 275% since Lehman Brothers collapsed. We are patriots protecting patriots. Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 888-528-4290 before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer 9 years in a row. Call now, 888-528-4290.
Meet Andrew from the Zebra. Andrew lives and breathes insurance. Andrew stays up all night watching the Zebra find people's savings. You might think nobody could love insurance as much as Andrew, but at the Zebra, everybody's really into savings. The Zebra monitors your insurance and informs you of savings the moment we find it. So you never have to second-guess your policy or your price. Nobody does insurance like the Zebra. Find out how much you can save today.
All right, polls have officially closed in Virginia. Projection here that Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat, has won the governor's race in the state of Virginia over Winsome Sears. We're waiting to see if we're going to have a concession speech from the Republican there, the lieutenant governor, who won't be the governor. The polls closing in New Jersey at 8. And Jack Ciattarelli hoping to finally win the seat of the governor, his third run at it. He is a strong candidate, and he's looking good right now. The polls are tight, but he nearly pulled it off last time, and he had a much tougher incumbent opponent. And we're going to check in now with Tom Basili and Katrina Zish at the election desk. Guys, go ahead.
Thanks so much, Rob. Yeah, an exciting night in America. Let's start with Virginia. That was a very quick call for the race for governor between Winsome Earl Sears and Abigail Spanberger. And with only about 2 or 3% in, we were able to make that call based on the projections. I think that when we write the story about this race, you're going to see much lower Republican turnout. I think that Sears she was hurt by the fact that the president really didn't throw his full weight. President Trump behind her. Barack Obama was campaigning for Abigail Spanberger. Sears was also outspent 2-1 in this race as well.
That's right. And also, we have to remember that Abigail Spanberger did have name recognition. She was a former CIA agent, as you said, but not because of that necessarily, but because she was, of course, a former congresswoman. All right, Rob, back to you.
Okay, guys, thanks so much, Katrina and Tom. We've seen you guys all night tonight. Joining us now is California's gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton, who still has a ways to go before his election, but joins us tonight. Sir, it's good to have you on. Let's talk about Prop 50. So Texas does some gerrymandering, and Gavin Newsom's response to protect democracy is to gerrymander the state of California to the absolute max, squeeze every last drop out of the state. What do you think happens? Is that passing tonight in your state?
Well, it looks like it will, which is absolutely outrageous, because the only reason we're doing this, Rob, here in California is Gavin Newsom's obsession with being president. It's all about his presidential ambition. He wanted to be the guy that stole another 5 Republican seats and enabled the Democrats in his vision of this to flip the House, impeach the president, stick it to Trump. That's what it was all about. He took $300 million of taxpayer money to spend on this nonsense. And then if you look at the spending on the election, you just referenced Virginia. In California, it was much worse. The Democrat machine, the corrupt machine, funded by the government unions, Soros money coming in, outspent the Republicans. I think it's 3-1, maybe even 4-1. $120 million Gavin Newsom had for this. And so it was always going to be difficult to beat the machine. That's why at the beginning of this whole process, I filed the lawsuit in federal court to try and stop it, because it's blatantly unconstitutional.
Yeah, it certainly is. Steve Hilton, good to see you again. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob.
Can Jack Ciattarelli win in New Jersey? Next.
Think you need a new roof? Think again and save thousands. We'll help you put off the high cost of a roof replacement for at least 5 years.
Or 10.
Or sometimes even 15.
We're America's most trusted roofer because we always try to save your roof rather than replace it.
We'll restore your roof for a fraction of the cost of a new one. But don't wait. If your roof loses too much protective coating, it's too late. Call now or scan the code and we'll give you an assessment of your roof for free.
Fruits and vegetables are meant to stay whole. At Balance of Nature, we freeze dry them, locking in their color, taste, smell, and thousands of phytonutrients, so you get it all. Claim this offer by using discount code Newsmax.
Drop is finally here. Drop delivers the weight loss benefits of GLP-1 injections in easy-to-use oral drops, no needles.
That's right. The 2 big drawbacks with weight loss injections are high costs
in weekly injections. Drop is flavorless and odorless, so you can just add it to water or your favorite beverage. Drop offers other advantages over injections too. With Drop, you can personalize your dosage based on your weight loss goals.
And because you add Drop to any liquid, there's no concern about injection site infections, bruising, or dosage confusion.
Drop is the easier, safer, cost-effective alternative to help you achieve your weight loss goals without the needles.
Can't find it anywhere? The Wellness Company has it. No consultation needed. Simply order online and use promo code SLIM to save $100. Visit dropthepounds.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim.
As Israel suffers attacks on 7 different fronts, it's her poor and elderly who are barely making it through each day.
The tears are from the pain of the life that she's lived. She's a survivor of Auschwitz. The years that they would just beat her, years that she didn't have food and felt hungry.
She paid a horrible price to come home from Ethiopia. She lost in that journey her 6-year-old son. A couple of weeks later, she lost her family. She is a wonderful woman, and she is very poor.
I pray that we answer these cries, and our answer is love.
With a gift of only $25, you'll deliver a life-saving food box into the hands of an elderly Jew in need.
She's saying people have a heart. There are good people today.
Call, scan, or go online now, and the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews will rush your food box today.
Hallelujah. This is a holy moment. What you're doing is not simply being kind. You are prophetically stepping into the scriptures and being part of their redemption and our own.
This is a holy calling, and it's our chance to bless God's people. In a world where Israel is under attack, Christians can help fulfill biblical prophecies through practical support and genuine friendship.
For everything you are doing, thank you. It's perfect.
This is what a simple food box does.
You can bring joy, hope, and love to someone praying for your help today. So please, call, scan, or go online now.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Cunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Cunol, the brand I trust.
All right, the polls close in New Jersey in 8 minutes. Our Newsmax host, Rob Astorino, has the latest on this state. This is looking pretty good for Jack Ciattarelli, the Republican, right, Rob?
I think he's got the best chance tonight of any Republican running, because you got to understand the difference right now between 21 and 25. Okay, you got to go governor's race to governor's race. Forget the presidential, where Trump did very well. I think it's going to come down to 4 counties in the northern part of New Jersey that are affected very much by New York City, meaning a Mamdani effect. So let's go to the map in New Jersey, okay? Because Ciattarelli lost these 4 counties. Here it comes. Let's bring it on in. Bring it on the map. Okay, here. All right. These 4 counties here, very blue, however, very suburban. Passaic, Bergen, Hudson, and Essex County. He lost by 167,000 votes, Ciattarelli, that 4 years ago. There's been, in those 4 counties, 84,000 in the election. Since 4 years ago, Republicans have picked up 167,000 new enrollees. Democrats have lost 40. That's 205,000 swing. That is beyond the difference of the vote total from 4 years ago. Meaning, if they come out and turn to red, they don't have to win those counties. Just flip some votes. Ciattarelli's going to be the next governor.
And he's up against Mikey Sherrill.
She's terrible.
Instead of the incumbent governor, Phil Murphy. Much easier opponent. It's looking good for
She's
Jack
got
Ciattarelli
heavy
tonight.
baggage. He can do very well.
Yeah. Rob, good to see you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Christina Thompson at the Ciattarelli headquarters, Bridgewater, New Jersey. I imagine there's some optimism in that building, Christina.
There is. Jack Ciattarelli is not here yet. This is his headquarters. They're on their way. I've been in contact with his campaign, and they are very excited for tonight, for what's to come. I heard you guys talking about back in 2021. If you think about that razor-thin margin, Jack Ciattarelli losing that race to outgoing Governor Phil Murphy by only 3 points. Guys, the polling this year has been so different, showing him neck and neck with his Democratic opponent, Mikey, Cheryl, showing him in some polls, even being ahead of her, even 1 point behind her. But the biggest thing we want to talk about here and look at is those 2.5 million unaffiliated voters that, when you look at some of the polls, are saying they're more likely to vote for Ciattarelli than Cheryl. So we're feeling a lot of optimism here in the building, just waiting for him to make his way here.
Could be the bright spot on a blue state election night. Christina, thanks so much. We appreciate it. All right, several polling sites in New Jersey getting closed down, moving to other locations on Election Day. We had bomb threats in 7 counties, including heavily Republican areas. Polling locations across Bergen County, Essex, Mercer, Middlesex, Monmouth, Ocean counties had apparent threats made to polling locations. All of this, you can imagine, is likely coming from the left because, as we know, Republicans vote on Election Day. Scott Pressler also reporting 3 red districts in Cumberland County, New Jersey, have had machines down as well. All of this is working against Ciattarelli. Mike Crispy is a 2024 New Jersey Trump delegate. The question, Mike, is can Ciattarelli beat all of that and win with a big enough margin? It looks like he might be able to tonight.
Well, this is shaping up to be very similar to how it was in 2021. Coming into the race today, you had the early vote total margin between Republican and Democrat at about the same as it was in 2021. However, a massive uptick in unaffiliated voters, 130,000 more unaffiliated voters than what happened and what came into the election day last time. Now, today's result, as I'm looking at them, looks pretty serious. The turnout, guys. We're experiencing record turnout, the highest since 1997 in a gubernatorial election.
Sorry to cut you short, but we're going to run out of time in the show. Mike, good to see you. Thanks so much. We'll be right back.
Closed captioning brought to you by Magna Life Relaxing Leg Cream PM for a good night's sleep.
The discomfort in your legs at night is real. Here's what real customers have to say about Magna Life Relaxing Leg Cream. It's a lifesaver if you have restless legs.
Available at your local retailer.
Hello, I'm Franklin Graham. We've all been watching the storm Melissa as it hit Jamaica. The destruction is just incredible. Samaritan's Purse is responding. We've got planes taking supplies and people in and out of Jamaica. We've got helicopters. They'll be working up in the mountains in some of these remote areas where people are still cut off. So much destruction has taken place. So please pray for them. We want everyone there to know that God loves them and cares for them. So we need your prayers. God bless you. Thank you.
A peace plan for Gaza. For the plan to advance, Hamas must disarm. Instead,
tonight, terrifying images emerging from Gaza. Videos show Hamas-linked gunmen carrying out a public execution as they return to the streets.
Hamas on a rampage, executing Palestinians, bloody crackdown, spreading terror. For freedom, not terror, Hamas must go.
Hello, this is WWE Hall of Fame wrestler Mick Foley. Across this great country, there are thousands of veterans with no place to call home. They deserve better.
Welcome to my new home.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation is committed to eradicating veteran homelessness by providing housing and critical services.
Couldn't ask for anything more.
Please help by donating $11 a month at T2T.org. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Let us do good.
Some mornings the road calls for more than just horsepower. It asks for intention, precision, a quiet confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. It's the details, how you carry the moment that sets the tone. This isn't just about looking sharp, it's about feeling ready. Crafted for motion, built with purpose, designed to perform from sunrise to last light. Collars & Co. Presence starts here. Try it for yourself today at collarsandco.com.
All right, welcome back. So what did we learn in this hour? Well, Spanberger took Virginia. Winsome Sears only took about 23 minutes for that projection from Newsmax here. And I guess maybe the bright spot tonight is going to be Jack Ciattarelli in New Jersey. Everything that I see, Rob, looks like this could be the night for Jack. Every indicator looks like this could be finally his big night to take New Jersey. He's a great candidate. He's a good guy.
This is his third time running there. People forget that just 4 years ago, 2021, he almost pulled off the miracle then and beat Phil Murphy. He won, lost by just 3%. So it could be his night. Polls close there, and they close there right now. 8 o'clock. Rob, well done.
Go,
we'll see you in
Jack,
a little
go.
bit. Yeah.
Thanks, Rob.